Hello, it's October 11th, 2022. My name is Joe Weston, and we're here for our online weekly global practice for reviving the global heart. And it's good to have you all gather. The diehards are here, and other people are holding space for us in their hearts around the world. And as always, we're here gathering to create the opportunities in community to increase our resilience and fierce compassion, to effectively navigate the challenges of our time, and also to find ways to bring into action some of our highest aspirations and hopes and dreams for ourselves, for those around us, and for the world itself. And I want to overemphasize that today, this idea that if everyone's, because you hear that a lot, right? You hear it a lot, especially in the United States, when there's a mass shooting in a school, that people say, we're tired of the thoughts and prayers. We want action. And people in a lot of oppressed communities are saying the same thing. Yeah, thanks for your compassion and your empathy, but we want action. And we see that transpiring throughout the world, where we're being called to deeper levels of action with the rise of more extremes in the polarization and income inequality, in how certain communities are treated in certain countries around the world, And I've been thinking a lot about that, it's not anything new that I haven't said before, but it just feels like right now, where honestly, we're possibly on the brink of once again, the threat of nuclear war. And viruses and diseases and the economy kind of not as stable. I'm sorry if I'm creating a depressing picture. Saying it's a depressing picture is a judgment and doesn't, but accurately trying to portray what's going on, I think is important, especially for those of us who feel like we would like to contribute something, either as nurturers and protectors or as midwives, as we talk about it. And I always try to think, well, what can I do? It's not a question of doing more, but of putting in more hours to volunteer or donate more money or worry more or things like that. And what if the things we can do more of is just our practice and enhance it and take it to the next level. And I think that's in a sense what I'd like to look at today, is that, because in that is something we can do. Because as I've been saying now for a year, with this idea of being fierce agents for fierce hope, there are plenty of ways that I'll speak for myself, I don't have a lot of power to implement change and to make the world the way in the image in which I would like it to see at this moment. So the question is, where do I have power? And it's always within myself and cultivating aspects of myself. And that really, it sounds like, oh, wow, that sounds really ideal and dreamlike or whatever. And on some level it is. But if it doesn't start there, where is it going to start? And you've heard me use the quote by the Peace Pilgrim that I use for the last 15 years or so to talk about this work, is that we are not going to solve our world strife and world war until we first address and resolve our own personal psychological violence. And until we can look at those patterns, it's not going to change externally. And I think that's the issue, is that we're too focused outward to try to solve it. But the root cause of the problem is in each one of us as individuals. And the more of us who take responsibility, even for our own actions, our own thoughts, our own words, and our own actions, that's already contributing something significant. And I'm assuming that the people who come regularly to this global heart practice are doing that on some level, that there's some level, and that there has to be, in a sense, as a strategy, work done on both the external, the cultural transformation, as well as personal transformation. Because not only do we then say, okay, I've taken care of my stuff, But at the same time, we're increasing our capacities, we're increasing our skills, which means that in a sense, we can get more done with less time and effort, perhaps. We can increase our scope of influence. And the program we just finished, I'm very proud to say we just finished at the Weston Network, cohort number 2 of our Facilitating Transformation teacher training program. Very excited. 5 new graduates who are already doing remarkable work in the world. And in this process of exploring ways to increase our capacities to be of service. And in what ways can we now, and the idea of that is to be able to be more in the tension, be more in the challenges, be more in the messy, to be more in the heat of heavy discussions and challenges in a way where you can still stay resilient, still stay in your heart, still stay present and not fall into old patterns, but help others by creating a safety and trust to move into new patterns. And in that program that I've developed, as well as the teacher training program I developed for the women's rights group in Gaza, is at a certain point for the participants who are looking to be facilitators of this is to consider what their scope of influence wants to be. Do you want your scope of influence to be simply, I shouldn't say simply, let's erase the word simply. Do you want your scope of influence to be your immediate surroundings, your family, your friends, your community? And that, believe me, if you think about your family, if I think about my family, and if I were to make that a commitment, that would be a lot of work. and just work colleagues and family and all of that. So, that might be your scope of influence. So there's no right answer. Some people might say, I want to take that out into the community and support a larger sense of family or neighborhood. Some might say, I want to really work to create systems that help others find their power, whether that's just volunteering or starting an organization, or maybe even more so saying, I want to actually get into influencing public policy by running for office. So there are different scopes of influence that you can decide to have. I think it's helpful to know, because then it helps you structure and outline this idea of what can I do to be of service? What can I do to be of support to those who are in need of support or looking for support? We've got our 2-leggeds here today. All of our 4-leggeds have shown up. It's fun. Sorry, I got distracted. It wasn't squirrel, but I got distracted by cat and dog. Where was I? Oh yeah. So it's good to be able to structure for yourself, what would I like my scope of influence to be? And to be able to say, okay, just for the next 3 months, what would I like to accomplish? And see if you can do that. Then you can extend it to 6 months or a year. And with whom and how large of a scope. And these are just ways of you anchoring more and offering some suggestions on how to take your aspirations, what's in your heart, and take that into action in a way that feels empowering to you, and also with a cultivation of your skills, may not feel like you're burning out. You don't have to burn out. It can actually empower you and nurture you in the process. So I want to try something with our practice that for those of you, since everyone here today certainly it comes on a regular basis, I want to really help you drop in and see if you can take this for yourself, cultivate this to another level of what presence really is and what deeper listening is. So let's find our way in our posture, as we always do. And this might be a little bit of a variation of our practice, but play along. Sitting in power sit, where your spine is straight without being rigid. Also feeling that lengthening all the way up through the top of your head. So you tucking your chin a little bit. Shoulder jaws relaxed, shoulders relaxed, belly relaxed. So that you are able to sit in a way where you can actually feel in your body without effort, more of a sense of balance and flow. helping the body facilitate its own process of balance and flow, internally, externally, as we also come into presence and awareness. With this posture, bringing your attention to your core and your lower belly, your center, which you can find approximately the width of 3 fingers below your navel and 1/3 of the way into the body from the front of the body. Center of impulse, gut wisdom, creativity, instinct, personal power, and awareness, perception. And really clarifying for yourself as you continue to do this practice on your own, the difference between thinking something, feeling something, and being aware of something. And in this practice, ultimately, if we're truly in presence, awareness, balance, and flow, we have an equal mastery and alignment of all 3, thinking, feeling, and perceiving all at once. Because we're trained to think a lot. We have a lot of feelings. We're not really trained to cultivate a relationship with our awareness. So that's why we spend a lot of time in the core, cultivating awareness to bring it into balance. From your center, become aware of your contact points, the parts of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on and the ground. And I invite you for this exercise to do something a little different, that the things you're noticing to say out loud, like whisper them, to really, really moving your mouth and your lips. If you don't want to use your voice, at least use your mouth to mouth the words. So for instance, you could say pressure on back of thighs. Just right now, you're just focusing on the contact points, pressure on the knees, the back of the knees, or the sides of the knees, stability under me. And the training now is to keep saying out loud what you're experiencing, what you're focusing on. And to really use your lips and say it. If you can't think of anything new, just repeat the things you've already said. The training the purpose of the training is to keep you talking and noticing what you're aware of in any given moment. It may seem silly, but just see if you can try that for this round. What we're doing is I'm asking you to sharpen and be more specific in how you're noticing and listening. So with this awareness from your core of your contact points, now we're going to come into more of an awareness of ourselves, going within to notice on a deeper level the inner landscape of yourself, beginning with your physical body. So from your center, become aware of your physical body, and the same things. Keep talking out loud and noticing what you notice, all the specific things. Tickling in my right shoulder, for instance, pressure between my eyes, saliva in my mouth, hunger in my belly, tension in my lower back. Keep speaking out loud, really training yourself to, especially if it's challenging. And if you can't, the idea is that you're always talking. And if you can't think of anything new, just keep saying the thing you just already noticed. It's okay to keep noticing the same thing. All focused on the sensations and the physical body, the way the physical body communicates with you. Keep it going. If it feels uncomfortable, just trust that there's learning and growing in the uncomfortable. If there's resistance, know that there's Resistance in our system means that you're just about to open to something new. From your center, become aware of your emotional body. So now changing the focus to the landscape of your emotions, and maybe hundreds of them. Which ones are you noticing? And again, to say them out loud, subtleties of them. For instance, you could be saying sadness, silliness, whatever emotions are coming up. Keep speaking it. Staying connected to yourself. Don't go into story like questioning, like, why do I have that emotion? That's not the point. The point is to only notice what's actually happening in this present moment, noticing your mind wanting to wander off into analysis or questioning or problem solving. See if you can stay directly on what perceiving the direct experience of this moment. From your center, become aware of your thoughts, the quality of your thoughts, the speed of your thoughts. And again, speak not your thoughts out loud, but what you're noticing about your thoughts. Tight and judgmental, racing like a train. Now maintaining connection with your core, your center of awareness, or bringing awareness to your heart or the middle of your chest where your heart power resides. And again, just saying out loud, what sensations or feelings or thoughts arise now as you're connecting with your heart? No judgment, just an assessment. Could be words like expansiveness, warmth in my chest, connection, excitement, hope, mystery. From your center and from your heart, become aware of that part of you that has access to something larger than yourself. And from that part of you, become aware of your connection in this moment to something larger than yourself, that part of you, and notice what comes up and speak that out loud. Again, not creating any story or analysis, simply noticing what you are seeing or experiencing right now. Allow this to now expand out the sense of self with connection from below, the connection from something larger than yourself and yourself, from your center and from your heart. Let that radiate out now into your personal space, out to the outer layers of your personal space, your personal boundaries. And speaking out loud what you're noticing as well. With this awareness of self in this present moment, take a full breath in. Maintaining a connection with yourself. Now from your center and from your heart, become aware of your surroundings in all directions. And here is a really good idea to speak out loud like you're doing as well, the specifics of your surroundings, the sounds, the smells, light, temperature. If you want to cheat, open your eyes a little bit and see what you see. You can do that too, but start with your other senses and keep speaking. If you can't think of anything new, just repeat what you've already said. It's training yourself to just keep the dialogue, the flow going. Birds chirping, siren, coffee smell, warmth, for instance, in all directions. And with this awareness of self and surroundings from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Expanding on this present moment from self and surroundings from your center and from your heart, become aware of those in this meditation circle. Various parts of North America, Europe, around the world, particularly those who are here online with us through the World Wide Web. And noticing what you notice as you sit in circle, saying out loud the things you notice in the interaction, in the other, in yourself. Does it change your level of open-heartedness? Does it ask you to put up more boundaries? Does it allow you to let down more boundaries? See if you can keep the dialogue going. With this awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Expanding this out now to all human beings from your center and from your heart, beginning with those human beings you would label loved ones. And without searching for anyone, just notice who arises in your heart. What faces do you see in groups of people? How many do you see? And as you sit or stand face to face with them, with honor and respect, say out loud the things you're noticing. What do you notice in them? What do you see in them? In their faces, their clothing, their posture. What signals are you picking up from them? And what signals are you picking up in yourself? See if you can be specific. And again, the best way to do this is really to say it out loud. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label stranger. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many do you see? And as you stand face to face, noticing, speaking out loud the things you notice. What kind of clothing are they wearing? What are their facial expressions? What might they be communicating simply with their presence and their face and their eyes? It's their state of being. How is it affecting you? What are you noticing in yourself? In terms of your level of open-heartedness, your level of clarifying your boundaries, uncomfortableness, safety. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings you would label adversary. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? How many do you see? Really take the time as you stand face to face to visualize them and be specific in what you notice. No judgment, simply assessment. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you sense? As opposed to what do you interpret or criticize or judge? And what are you noticing within yourself? Again, not interpreting or criticizing, simply perceiving. Noticing the effect that this practice is having on you so far, in terms of your level of presence and awareness, your balance and your flow, your open-heartedness, sense of connection. And with this awareness, From your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Maintaining this sense of awareness to extend. Imagine all human beings having this level of a presence and moment to moment assessment, how that would impact all creatures on this planet and the planet itself. Allow all human beings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to those in this meditation circle. Again, clarifying what you're noticing now that you're back in connection with a familiar community. Feel free to speak that out loud. Bringing your awareness now back to, from allowing those in this meditation circle to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings, specifically noticing what's in your surroundings, sounds, smells. Has something changed? Allowing the surroundings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. And take a moment to do an inventory physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You noticing anything new about you as opposed to 10 minutes ago? Allowing the benefits of this practice to flow into every cell of your body. Activating all of your cells. Flowing into your organs as a way to nourish and nurture and heal your organs. Bring vitality. Flowing into your nervous system as a way to remember this, muscle memory. And lastly, letting it flow into your core like a battery to fill up your battery, charge your battery to 100%. As a way to close this practice, let's take one final breath in and out. Very slowly, when you're ready, still thinking the things, specifically open your eyes, look around the space, maybe name a few things you see as you're looking at your space. And just anchor that for yourself, that you can be doing this practice anywhere, anytime, and just constantly naming what's happening inside of you, what's happening in your surroundings, and what's happening when you're engaging with others. And the more you can do this and not get distracted and not go into interpretation and problem solving and storytelling, and stay in actually naming what you see or hear or feel or smell or taste, that will bring you into a deeper, more specific experience of the present moment with little effort. So what did you notice? How was that? Curious. I'm curious.
It was
Ophelia?
great, Joe. I think I like to speak, so I love the opportunity to talk when I was meditating. And I think it has an extra value is that you are so focused. Oh, my camera is acting up. So focusing into the words and describing that is difficult to get those invasive thoughts that come and go all the time. I think it has an extra value in that too. It's more centering because you are in the moment describing, so you don't have the chance to allow this. They don't come as often, all of these thoughts. And yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, good, good. I love that this is another way for you to keep talking. I love that. That's And who would have thought that you could be talking through a meditation? Because it's not a meditation, but so that's what's fun about it. Yeah, and that is the point of it, is that because it shows us how often, how much we're addicted or attached to the conceptual mind, the mind that conceptualizes and doesn't have a direct experience. We think that we're directly experiencing things, but we're not. We put labels on it, we put judgment on it, we put stories on it, we interpret it, and every judgment or label or interpretation or criticism takes us one step away from actually experiencing that thing. Again, it's not good or bad, it's simply noticing that. And we're so trained to just conceptualize our reality and not fully experience it. So by training yourself to do that, yes, it helps you focus and not be as distracted, to get rid of the invasive thoughts, as you said, and it helps you experience your life instead of constantly interpreting your life. And in a sense, in the work of peace building and resolving conflicts and preventing conflicts, that's essential, because it's usually the stories the conceptualizations of a person that creates separation, polarization, or conflict, or ourselves, or a situation, as at least a first step to then directly see what's happening. And from there, we can then, I think, more concretely come up with solutions that emerge in the moment that may not even exist yet, instead of conceptualizing what could be a solution that isn't really directly going to solve the problem.
Yeah, if I may, for me, I found it frustrating. And I'm actually not a verbal, and I'm a much more, I think I navigate the world through my feelings a lot more than maybe I put on, but to me, it got in the way to have to name everything. I don't know. And
Keith, what did it get in the way of? I'm curious.
Me being still and present. That's what it felt like. It felt like it was actually taking me, I was labeling things and not just being with them. I don't know. That's what came up for me.
Yeah, interesting. Because so you connote presence with stillness, based on what you said. I guess I should ask that.
Yeah. Or at least that's sort of what I've been cultivating in my sense of presence, at least in, more recently in my practice. So yeah, anyway, so there's something to work on there, obviously.
Yeah. Well, the way I would say it, Keith, is that it's a both and, right? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's cultivating stillness. That's one practice. That's more closer to meditation.
Right.
And the present moment is never still unless you're in a still place, right? If I'm standing in the middle of a street, the present moment is not still.
Right.
So it's, what does the present moment call of you? So I would say, so yes, I'm stretching you into something different, and that doesn't mean you can't still do your stillness practice.
Right. Right. The other thing I would say, though, too, is that I really appreciate the focus on just naming what's present, not interpreting it. And that's a big part of sort of how I work with people. And, you'll ask, like when we ask ourselves, how do we feel? Oh, I feel abandoned. Well, that's an interpretation, for instance.
Yeah.
That's not a feeling.
And what is the feeling that you get them to? I'm just curious.
Well, and the question then is, okay, so that's an interpretation. What does it feel? What's the feeling of being abandoned? And then I'll give them a range of choices. Feelings are, anger, fear, happiness, hunger,
sadness. Yeah.
Sadness. Yeah. What was the abandoned? Oh, it's usually sadness.
Yeah.
And then underneath that, they discover the anger and the fear that led to the sadness in the first place.
Right. So that's that. So thank you. Yeah. So you can see that how you already use that. And another benefit of this is that you begin to see that to be specific in terms of a sensation is different from a feeling, which is different from a thought.
Mhm.
And my internal experience is different from what's happening externally. And to be able to delineate and discern that. Nice. Thank you, Keith. Golden?
Hey, everyone. So I landed between Ophelia and Keith. I do not equate meditation with stillness. Otherwise, I would never be able to meditate. And thanks to Tai Chi, I learned that I don't have to sit still to meditate. That it's, for me, it is about a degree of presence and awareness and connection. So I'm usually moving around during these sessions. And so this was like one of the few days where I could sit, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit and drop in. And then Joe's like, hey, say this, say that, say this other thing. And I'm like, dude, I was gonna drop in. So yeah, it was really interesting, but it was also useful because when we got to loved ones, strangers, and adversaries, I've been participating in this community now for, I think, like 3 years. And I realized I have this very evolving relationship with the definition of loved ones, strangers, and adversaries, because as I was, the idea of having to say it out loud then was like kicking all my cognitive process into motion. And so then I was like, well, what is a loved one? And how is it different from a stranger? And so I was like really, starting to think through that and come to, like yet another iteration of definition for that, which is, it's really changed over the last 3 years. So that was pretty cool to be observing as well, this sort of relationship that I'm having with these categories and concepts and how they're affecting how I hold people and what kind of capacity I have. So yeah, that was my experience. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Love that. Hey, Tori, good to see you. Anybody else have anything to share?
Hi.
Vanessa.
Hi. I do have a quick share. I'm new to meditating, which seems kind of funny from my background that you guys know, but I'm starting up with meditation again with you, Joe, and I'm appreciating the moments when you're talking about your adversary, the stranger. And I just want to share a little experience I had at the grocery store with my son this morning with a stranger. My son is a toddler monster right now. He's 2.5. So there's lots of emotions, lots of regulation happening, or lack thereof sometimes, as you can hear. So we had a little issue in the grocery store today. I am so sorry. And a stranger saw him in the grocery aisle and saw that he was being a little fresh with mama. And my little guy swatted at my hand, and the stranger said, oh, and gave him a reaction. And it completely changed my son in that interaction. And he just completely changed. And he was a different person in the world in that moment. And for me, like that little powerful moment with a stranger and reflecting back upon that, because I'm just so busy in my life thinking about the people that I love or the people that are immediately close to me, but having those interactions, even with a stranger in the littlest way, how it can just change and kind of trickle out and change what's going on for your day and teach you something. So it was just a really powerful moment, and he's back to being his little toddler monster. So I wish I could go get that guy from the grocery store again, but But I just wanted to share that quick little fun story.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Vanessa is now doing more work with the Weston Network and the Fierce Civility Project, and very grateful to have her share her brilliance, her heart, her creativity, her wisdom, her generosity, and her own fierceness and her own fierceness. So thank you, Vanessa.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's great to see you all. I invite you to practice that. And if you're already moving around, then you can do it. So you can say the words out loud. But and just remember, yeah, there are moments for stillness and there's moments for, because the more you do this and when you can really get this to a level where you are constantly saying things, you'll find a different level of stillness, even in the using of the words. Right now, it's still kind of cognitive because you're still thinking, it's still a new habit. But play with that. The best thing to do is if you're walking down the street or even if you're in the car, to just say, okay, for the next 2 minutes, I'm just going to name everything I see and start getting into that practice. It's going to enhance your practice. That was the purpose of doing it this week, is to give you another layer to get into a deeper level of specificity in this practice, this work.
I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, it went like just you need to do one more time and you'll get it, right? You'll get
I don't think so. I've got some resistant parts.
Let's talk to them. Let's talk.
Okay.
Name it out loud. Name them out loud.
They're the resistant parts.
The resistant parts without interpretation.
Exactly.
All right, so let's dedicate this energy. May the benefits of this practice touch each and every one of us as we find more specificity in how we're engaging with ourselves, our surroundings, and others, all creatures on this planet, and the planet itself, so that we can, with ease, simply be more mindful of our thoughts, words, and actions, transforming our patterns of thoughts, words, and actions to ones of negativity and worry and stress to those of hope, aspiration, and inspiration. And may all beings on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. And may all governments, world leaders, govern from a place of creativity towards compassion, combined with compassion, as opposed to fear, limitation, and greed. Okay, thank you. Have a good week. See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.